I would say happy Halloween, but I literally hate Halloween because Halloween is the time of year that people decorate their houses like this and it's disgusting. Why have I done it to my bookshelves? Really good question. I had loads of this horrible cobweb stuff left over from a book break video that we did, and for some reason I was like, what should I do with all this horrible cobwebs? I'll stick it on the wall, and then instantly regretted it because I don't want to even take it down because that would involve touching it again. Here's the thing, can you guarantee to me that none of these spiders have come to life since I last checked? As I just said, I don't like Halloween, I don't really like being scared, and for that reason I don't usually read horror, but there is a readathon going on right now that I really want to take part in, and that is the Fortnight Frights readathon. That one's being run by the Artisan Geek, and it just looked very cool. Plus she's very cool, so I wanted to take part even though I hate everything about scary season. You keep away, okay? Back right up. So the Fortnight Frights, as you can guess from its title, is a fortnight long. It is a 2-week readathon, but I just did not have time for that this month, and so I thought, easy solution, I will just do the entire readathon over the course of one weekend. Not crazy at all. Seiji created a bingo board that looks like this, and so one way to win the readathon is just to complete a bingo line in any direction. Another alternative, slightly easier way to win is just to read one book that fits 2 of the prompts at once. So being the teacher's pet that I am, I decided I'm gonna win both ways. So this is my spooky TBR for the weekend. I've got 5 terrifying looking books here that I'm going to try and fit all into the next 2.5 days. And if I have time, I might even convince RG to watch a scary movie with me. But maybe the scary movie will have to be like The Nightmare Before Christmas rather than The Ring. I'm watching you. Okay, so before we get reading, let me talk you through my TBR. Firstly, we are doing that bingo board, and I'm going to attempt to go straight down the left side. For a book about an undead character, I have got here The Deep by Alma Katsu. This was one that my patrons picked for me, but also it looks so good. It is a horror retelling of the Titanic. I'm completely obsessed with the Titanic. If you're going to get me to read a horror book, this is the way to do it. So the next square is to read a book by a mainland European author. So I'm going to reread a book. This isn't horror, but it's about a serial killer who kills women and makes perfume out of their scent. I'm counting it as horror because that's horrifying. For an author from Asia, I chose Yoko Ogawa. I've read 2 of her books now. Neither of those were horror, but I really like her as a writer. And so this is her short story collection of creepy little short stories. And then the last square is dark fantasy. And so this is the pick that I think you guys are going to find the most controversial, but this is Kindred by Octavia Butler. So this isn't exactly what you would call a horror story, but I have found it on some blog posts or like listicles of horror books because it has elements of horror, but it's kind of horror in that like real life horror way because it's about slavery, which is a genuine horror. So you might not think it counts, but I'm gonna say it counts, okay? So that's the bingo board, and then the other way to win is to read one book that fits 2 of the prompts. And so I've got this little graphic novel. This is When I Arrived at the Castle by Emily Carroll. I've read her other graphic novel, which was called Into the Woods or Through the Woods, somewhere in the woods, and they're just like creepy little horror stories. I really enjoyed it. It's all black, white and red and bloody, and ugh, I'm scared just looking at it. I don't want to read this late at night. But this fits 2 prompts because you will see on the board there is a square for an LGBT author and there is a square for a comic book or graphic novel. So this fits both. So as long as I read all of these terrifying books in the next 50-something hours, then I will be a champion of the Fortnight Frights readathon. Maybe if Halloween parties are a thing by next year, I can go as the scariest costume of all, an anti-masker. The horrors of a Tesco meal deal. So I'm going to sit here and eat my lunch and get started. Let's kick off this readathon with The Deep. It's the biggest one, it's a chunky boy, also the one that I'm most excited about, really. Every night in my dreams. Me singing might be the biggest horror story so far. No, the meal deal pasta, still more horrifying. The Deep. Do you think Jack and Rose will be in here? You know what, Emma, stop thinking, just read. Okay, I'm not scared yet. Mostly we're just setting the scene. She started working on the Titanic, but I'm now going to take Hippo for a walk, and I have just got the audiobook so that it doesn't slow me down. Hippo! Yeah, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. Okay, I'm still not scared, and if I'm honest, a little bored. I feel like I should have predicted that I wouldn't like this book, because now that I think about it, the whole premise, a horror retelling of Titanic, is only fun to say, like to laugh at how funny that is as a concept. And so far, there has been no horror. Like they've done a seance? How do you say that word? They've started talking about some spirits, but I haven't seen anything really scary happen yet. And I'm a wimp, and it's getting dark, and I'm not scared yet. Who knew horror could be so boring? Honestly, I swear I've hated almost every book that I've read in October. What is going on? Do I even like reading? I'm genuinely not sure. It's time to shut the curtains though. Oh, where's the curtain? There it is. And she's back. It is now 10 p.m. I'm like very reluctant to pick this book up right now because it's just so boring and it'll send me straight to sleep, and I don't want to fall asleep at 10 p.m. on my weekend when I'm trying to read as much as possible. So I'm going to save this one for tomorrow. I think reading the Emily Carroll graphic novel could be great because that'll be very readable, and then maybe I will also try and read some of the short stories from the collection, because if I start a whole other novel I'll get confused. I'm not big on like reading too many novels at once, so we're going to stay with the different formats. One novel, one graphic novel, one short story on the go at the same time. We can manage. Okay, goodbye downstairs candles. You have been good to me. We're now going to go light the upstairs candles. I love candles. Okay, I'm ready to get properly spooked this time. I've got When I Arrived at the Castle. There's blood dripping everywhere. It looks horrifying. Let's do this. Okay, this page right here, this is what nightmares are made of. Last night I genuinely had nightmares about the spiders that I had to put up on the decorations, and now I'm gonna have nightmares about this horrible thing climbing out of a coffin. I didn't know books could give you jump scares, but they can. What happened? I might need to read it again. That's terrifying, but I don't understand it. But this is the same thing that happened when I read Through the Woods. That one was like a collection of short horror stories, and like again they were super creepy and I loved the illustrations, but at the end of each one I didn't know what had happened. Okay, I've read it twice. I still don't fully understand, but I like it and I wanted to be creeped out. I'm thoroughly creeped out. Yep, definitely need a palette cleanser to get those images out of my brain. So next we're gonna try a short story. I'm hoping for something eerie but slightly less disturbing than this.
This Halloween I'ma get even with.
Okay, so that first story was beautifully written. Yoko Ogawa stuff always is. I would say it was like sad rather than scary, but it's like dark. There's like quite eerie imagery, but the story itself is just sad, not scary. I want to know why it's called Revenge. I'm gonna read one more story and see if that helps.
Keep it low, low.
Strawberries have featured in both stories so far. Will this be relevant? Is it all going to weave together and be about a haunted strawberry? Okay, so I think the stories are interconnected. I think that the character from this one was a minor character we met in the first one. Are they all going to be linked? Because that's fun. I don't always love short stories because I don't love like jumping between all of the totally disconnected stories because I get attached and then we move on. But if they're all linked in some way, that'll be fun. Let's read another one.
This Halloween I'ma get even with.
Whoa, okay. That last story was the first like properly creepy one. Shit. Another one. These are addictive. They all give you little extra context for the story before, so it just makes you want to keep reading. I was planning to like try and save these and filter them out over the whole weekend, which I still do want to do, but just one more tonight. Okay, I'm really into that book. I can't wait to see how they all come together. I hope it has some kind of satisfying conclusion of how they tie together. I like ambiguous endings, but I want it to have something concrete and hopefully something like scary that brings them together in the end. But I just don't know where it's going. But for now, it is 11:30. I'm gonna try and go to sleep now, get my energy up to tackle that super boring book tomorrow, and hopefully part 2 will be more interesting. Because I'm like halfway through now and there have been no real ghosts. I literally started this video by saying I hate being scared. I do hate being scared, but then I also like kind of want it.
This Halloween I'ma get even with you.
Good morning! It's Saturday morning in Tier 2 restrictions. There's nothing else to do in the rain but make myself a cup of tea and read a scary book and hope that it actually gives me chills today. I thought I'd read in a new location today just to shake things up. Ha, still too hot, still too hot. Here's the thing, until very recently when people were talking about it on Twitter, I never knew that you were actually supposed to take the dust jacket off while reading, and now it's a thing that everyone's like, obviously. I always thought the dust jacket was to protect the book though, so if I take this off, No, that doesn't make sense. The dust jacket is to stop it from getting dusty while it's on the shelf. But while it's in my hands, it should be free and easy. But then what's the point of having the nice picture on here? Because now no one can see what I'm reading. What are you for? It's nearly going down. We're on the 12th of April now. It goes down on the 14th, I believe. There's a spectre hiding in the city. If you watched my love-hate challenge vlog, you will know I'm having a lot of pain in my back at the moment. So we're going to do like a back-focused workout. Upper back pain, another horror of growing old. You say I cost too much, I talk too much, I work too much, I listen rough, my love's not enough, I have too much stuff for you.
Once he stole from the actors, he would graduate.
This book really does just still feel more like historical fiction with kind of mention of the supernatural, as in the characters are interested in the supernatural, but we haven't really seen any of it ourselves yet. And how far through am I? Like 3/4? Oh, nearly broke my phone. Okay, if you've watched any of my vlogs in pretty much the last 7 months, you will have noticed this box that's been sitting there, and we keep saying, oh, we're going to take that to the charity shops when they open. And then they opened, and now we're like, oh, we're going to take that to the charity shop when we remember. And now it's a Saturday, and I was like, you know what, I remembered. Now, let's just take it.
She's forcing us to do it.
Well, I think we should just do it, you know? Because then think of all the parties we can have on that bit of wall. Parties. There's no parties in 2020. I showed up at your party. Look at all this empty space. Ignore the fact there's actually books just right there now, but they're going soon. So this is la, la, la. So much space. Oh my goodness, we can have a whole extra room here. Oh shit. It's April 14th. That ship's going down. Iceberg right ahead. Okay, so I finished The Deep. I thought it was unfortunately really bad, and it wasn't scary. So the kind of ghost story of it only really gets revealed properly right at the end, and it's just not what I wanted from this. So I wanted this to be a retelling of the Titanic. I wanted it to be a bit ridiculous and kind of have this haunted alternate reality of what happened and why the ship sank. But instead, that's not really what it was. It was just a focus on a very small number of like rich first-class passengers. A lot of them were real people, and a couple of made-up characters. Disrespectful is the wrong word to use, because I'm saying I wanted like a ridiculous horror retelling of the Titanic. It's all a bit disrespectful. But like the idea that the ship sank and all of these hundreds of people died just because of this like one story affecting these very few first-class passengers, I would have preferred it if it was like it was haunted and there were like creatures in the deep and they were attacking the ship, rather than like it just being about these few characters and then everyone else is just like collateral damage and they're not featured in the book. We don't get to hear anything about them. Like that all just felt a bit weird. And it's just, yeah, it's not what I was after. I wanted something a bit more like campy and over the top and ridiculous, and like creatures in the deep that caused the sinking of the Titanic, and like a total horror retelling rather than a slightly supernatural historical fiction mystery set on the Titanic but not really utilizing it. That's how I felt. It is getting dark. There is a lot of spooky wind kicking up outside, and I'm ready for my scary evening. But I have an update what I've been up to since I last saw you. So I decided that because The Deep wasn't very scary and I really enjoyed reading the creepy graphic novel last night, and I've been enjoying the short stories, that you know how I'd originally picked 2 books that weren't strictly horror because I'm a bit of a wuss and I didn't want to scare myself too much? I've now realised I do want to be scared, and so I don't think I should read those books. I don't think they're spooky enough. So I just went to town, went to Waterstones, spent like an hour and a half there with the nicest bookseller who was like so helpful and really trying to help me find what I was looking for, but we just could not find the right books to fit the prompts. He did manage to sell me this book just because he said how good it was, and it is spooky, it is horror, but it doesn't specifically fit any of the prompts, so you know, I'll just tack this on at the end. But what that means is I have had to just buy a book on my Kindle, which is never my favourite thing to do anyway, but I really wanted to read The Good House by Tananarive because everyone's been talking about it. It says it's so good, like the whole internet is just buzzing with it. So I had to buy it on my Kindle, and it was still £13, which is just ridiculous for a Kindle book. But anyway, I've done it, and hopefully that is going to give me the chills that I want tonight. Oh, and that does mean that I'm going to have to change my bingo board strategy. So we are changing angle. We are now going diagonally down the middle. So far we've got Undead Character, The Deep. Next one's a poem. I found loads of articles with scary poems, so I'll look those up soon. A horror comic, done. and then a book written by a Black or African author, The Good House. And then, because I'm switching when I arrived at the castle to be as part of this bingo line, for the other challenge, which is just to read one book that fits 2 of the prompts, that one is going to be Revenge, because that is both short stories and a book by an Asian author. Speaking of revenge, I have been waiting all day to get back to this one. This deserves to be done properly. Cheers. It is legit so windy outside, and I keep hearing what sounds like a knocking at the door, but there's nobody there. Really setting the mood to scare myself tonight. Oh my god, what the fuck is happening? This is so creepy. All of my earlier bravery has worn off. We haven't even watched a horror movie yet. I've just been thinking about watching horror movies, and I'm already feeling really creeped out, very nervous at like every unexpected sound that I hear. I had to ask Archie to come to the loo with me earlier because I was too scared to go there on my own. It's because it's getting dark now. Everything feels so much worse. Oh my god, it's raining so hard. It's making such spooky noises, and Hippo just got scared and ran away. They always say that dogs can sense spooky things before humans can. Something's gonna get me. Okay, we're about to start the final story. I've still been absolutely loving these. They're so creepy. The writing is amazing. I love Yoko Ogawa so much. I didn't even like The Memory Police that much as a book, but I even loved her writing in that book. And in these stories, it is perfect. Just up my alley. I love how all of these stories are connected. They're getting more and more connected as we go on. But we're going into the last one now, and I am still hoping for something that will make a bit of sense of it all overall. I have a feeling I'm not going to get exactly what I'm hoping for from this last story, but I'm excited to go down a rabbit hole of like other people's theories on the internet as soon as I finished. Ooh, I'm scared. What? Oh, I see. So she's... okay. But what? What? I loved that though. That was creepy AF. We are having a late supper. It is 9:30. Look at us wild kids. We're gonna have fish finger sandwiches because we're grown-ups. And then maybe watch a horror movie. What are you feeling? Yeah, horror movie? No horror movie. Yeah?
Sort of.
I'm scared. Even just, we've been thinking about watching horror movies and I've been jumping ever since. Ooh! Spooky boom! I don't think I'm going to be good at this. Even just like going through browsing the options on Netflix, I'm feeling like super stressed out. Archie's now horizontal because I've gone back and forth so many times on whether I am or am not brave enough to watch a horror movie. The answer is I'm not. I'm really not.
I finished my dinner, so
I know.
She missed like dinner in a movie.
We brought our food
now
to the
its
sofa.
Post-dinner activities are still deliberations, so we'll see.
I really tried. I tried, but then one of the movies started auto-playing on Netflix and it scared me so much I felt like I was gonna cry. So what I'm gonna do now is get into bed and start reading The Good House until I fall asleep or pass out from fright. I just remembered some other things I have that'd be great for this. I've got this collection of Irish ghost stories, so I might read one of these. There's a prompt on the bingo board to read something written before 1960, which I think everything in here was. I'll double check that, but definitely some of it is. So that'll be fun to read one or two of those. I also have another short story collection. A booktuber called Hannah Kidder emailed me her short story collection. So I'm just trying to figure out right now how to get that onto my Kindle. And assuming I can get it onto my Kindle, then I'll read one of those tonight as well. And then, if I'm not too tired after that, I will start The Good House. But it's like 11:15 right now, and that's not that late, but I'm quite sleepy, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, we have Starlight on the Kindle. I'm just gonna go straight in with the first story. Oh, I see. That was a very short story. Creepy. Let's try another one. That one's gonna give me nightmares. There's something hiding in my ceiling. Ooh. Wow, these were a lot darker than I expected. That's fun. I'm gonna read some more of these tomorrow. So thank you, Hannah, for sending me those. Great. Okay, now let's try an Irish ghost story. I have read some of these already for work, so let's find one that I haven't read yet. There's one called A Strange Christmas Game. You know me, I love Christmas.
I know it gives you thrills to be my spectator. If I could run faster, I'd see you later.
Okay. I mean, it was a ghost story, sure. It wasn't a scary ghost story, nor was it particularly an interesting ghost story. But I have read other ones from this collection that are much spookier. I'm so glad I didn't watch The Ring right now. Good night. Boom. Boom. So it's basically midday now on Sunday. I'm a little late to kicking off. It's now a really nice looking day outside. I've done everything in the wrong order. This morning we went for a walk and it started like pouring rain on us. All of that time would have been very good, like spooky reading. And now I'm here, I've finally dried off and it looks like really nice outside. But whatever, we'll probably go for another walk later. But now I need to start reading The Good House and hopefully scare myself silly. I just stuck these pop sockets on my Kindle and I'm completely obsessed. I love pop sockets. I have them on both my phones. 2 phones, who am I? I have this is my phone and I also have a work phone. Stuck pop sockets on both of those. I bloody love them. I kind of want to stick them on all the like remote controls, on cans of Coke that I'm drinking, just anything. But now I've got 2 on the back of my Kindle so I can lie flat on my back in bed. Oh, maybe I'll lie on my back right now. That'll be good for my sore back if I lie on the floor. And I can just hold the Kindle like this, you see, and it doesn't fall. Whoa, I'm actually gonna do that. We're gonna get on the floor right now. Okay, great book so far. I am gonna go into town and pick up some food for our lunch, but the book is coming with me because I am hooked. My back was just causing me way too much pain, so I run myself a delightfully hot bath. I've got candles burning, I've got lovely smelling oils in there. One thing I've forgotten though is to bring my book in here, but I can fit that. It's so steamy in here, the camera's even fogged up. It is like a sauna in here. Look, that sweaty red face. This is helping so much though. Look what Arch just harvested from his vegetable garden. They look great. This will be our supper tonight. Very spooky things are starting to happen in the house. But we're going to pause now and play a spooky game. It might not be spooky. I don't know which one we're doing. Maybe this one, because that one does look spooky. With Arju's parents. These are these really fun like escape room style card games kind of that you can play. You can just play them like in person with people. You just need like the box and an app on your phone. We play them every week with Arju's family over like a video call. So we're going to do that. They're really good fun. Right, here's the sitch. You're terrifying. I've got so much reading to do if I'm going to finish all of my scary stuff by nightfall. So you're in charge of dinner. There's your vegetables. Have fun. Cook me something yummy. Bye. Hippos come to keep me company in case I get too scared, which I might. Okay, I got to the end of the first part and I am spooked. I mustn't forget to read a poem though, because that's one of the other bingo squares, so I'm going to do that right now. I've got this Bustle article loaded called "These 13 Horror Poems Are Guaranteed to Give You Trouble Sleeping Tonight." But I love sleeping! The top one on the list is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, a classic, which I don't think I've ever read. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary. Is it just me who never understands poems? What was that about? Well, there you go. That was The Raven. Consider that box checked. Okay, we're going back into this terrifying book. I'm gonna have to run and like curl up by Arju's feet soon because I don't like reading this alone in a room. Okay, here's the thing. It's now like 3 days later suddenly. The back pain that I was experiencing over the weekend, I was trying not to show it too much in the videos because I didn't want to be boring, but it was actually like really bad and it got so intense that suddenly that evening I was just crying and then I was just like sobbing for 3 days straight from being in so much pain. Now I've got lots of painkillers and so I'm gonna try and finish the book. I did try to film a little bit more, but I mean I can't use this footage, it's just me crying. You guys know me, I always follow through on my challenges, so I was really disappointed to not be able to finish that book by the end of the weekend. But we're just gonna say the end of that day didn't count. Back pain is the true psychological horror after all, so it was very on brand. And I am now gonna try and finish The Good House as fast as I possibly can, and hopefully you guys will say that still counts. Sitting on the floor, eating salad, reading about demons. This book is very good, very creepy. I don't know exactly what's going on or what's gonna happen next. Help me. Oh my god, seriously? If you never thought that leaves could be scary, you haven't read this book. It's the end of my lunch break, so I really need to get up off this sofa and go back to my desk. But I'm like right in the middle of a very terrifying scene and I'm a little too scared to stand up in case someone grabs me or something. Okay, night has fallen now. It's quite scary outside. It's stopped raining now, but there were like proper storms earlier. Hippo is still literally cowering in the wardrobe because there were so many noises going on. So reading this book now that it's fully dark and I'm getting to the scary bit of this book, it's going to be a lot for me, for my little wimpy little brain to cope. But we're going to do it, and I'm going to distract myself so that I'm not too immersed in being terrified. I'm going to read this book, but at the same time, I'm going to cook this meat-free spag bowl. Something else funny is that, so I went to the osteopath yesterday because of my back problems, and she gave me like various movements, exercises to do, and a really simple one that I'm supposed to do 3 times a day is just stand like very upright, like there's a string pulling me up, keep my neck long, and then just very slowly move my head like this, which I honestly think is terrifying. Like, imagine you walk into a room and you just see me do this. It's like The Exorcist. I scare myself doing it.
This Halloween, I'ma get even with you. I'm a ghost, I'm a dip, I'ma go find my boo. If you ain't scared, we can disappear in this dark room. This Halloween, I'ma get even with you. Give me that, give me that, give me that, give me that freaky shit. Give me that, give me that, give me that, give me that freaky shit.
I was worried my back was starting to seize up, so we're back, we're on the move, we're standing, we're walking, we're reading. Well, I finished. I didn't quite manage to do that all in one weekend as I had planned, silly back getting in the way of that, but I have now finished all of the Fortnight Frights challenges I wanted to achieve. For a bingo line, I got the one diagonally down the middle. I read a book with an undead character, The Deep, not very scary, not very good. I read a poem, The Raven, a classic, didn't quite understand it. A horror comic I read when I arrived at the castle by Emily Carroll, very scary, very fun. And for a book written by a Black or African author, I just read The Good House by Tananarive, which I would probably give a 3-star overall. It was definitely very scary at times. It was a really interesting story. I enjoyed the mythology that was being used in the book, and I need to Google because I don't know how much of it is from like real Louisianan, I think, tradition and how much was invented. Some of the words for like the spirits and stuff I Googled and nothing came up, but maybe I need to search a little bit more. So I enjoyed that. But I'm not a big fantasy reader, as you guys know, and sometimes the world building went like a little bit too deep. I felt like I had to really concentrate hard on that, and I would like tune out a little bit, and also there was like a little bit too much of a happy ending, kind of all got wrapped up quite neatly at the end. But enjoyed the experience of reading it, and some very disturbing scenes in there. So there you go, that was my bingo line. And then I also completed the challenge the other way, which is to read a book that ticked off 2 of the squares by reading the book Revenge by Yoko Ogawa. That was a collection of short stories written by an author from Asia. It was also translated, so it ticks off 3 of those. Plus, I also read some more short stories. I read one from the Irish Ghost Stories books, that ticks off the square for written before 1960. And I also read a few of the short stories from Starlight, the collection by Hannah Lee Kidder. So that one will tick off dark fantasy. I think that would fit there. So I actually think that gives me another row ticked off. That's pretty good. I also got this square from when I arrived at the castle, so that's another row. So what I have learned from this experience is I thought I didn't like being scared, and actually I do like being scared. Reading creepy books is really fun, but I've also learned that I'm even more of a wimp than I thought when it comes to the movies, because I was genuinely quite excited about watching a horror movie until I saw the thumbnails on Netflix and realised I literally was going to cry just from seeing them. So in some ways I've learned that I'm braver than I thought, and in other ways I've learned that I'm much less brave than anybody should be. So a massive thank you to Seiji for organising the Fortnight Frights readathon. I will link to her channel below. This has been so much fun, what a great challenge, and hopefully by next Halloween my back will finally have fixed itself. See you next time, watch another video, here's my end screen!